Hey guys, it's Cory Allen again with In the Spread. Kind of on a series about tackle, and I think I mentioned one of my videos prior, like I was a big proponent of Fenwick for a lot of reasons. I gave you a lot of reasons to like their Elite Tech Predator series for the muskie. But we've talked before in some of my videos about how like just muskie gear isn't all you need for muskie fishing. There's a big difference between muskie fishing and muskie catching. And sometimes they don't really seem to be the same. A lot of times you have to find different components, borrow from different tackle industries and different target species to find the complete set of what you need to set up your surgical table. Like when you're out here fishing, you need to have all the tools laid out, all the things you might possibly need to encounter the day, to attack the water, attack the situation. And like I've said, a big part of that I feel like is spinning rod. Some people might not agree with me, but I think that having a spinning rod, especially for lighter presentations, is a really crucial component. Now the thing about spinning rods is people make musky spinning rods, but when they make a musky spinning rod, they're making a musky spinning rod. So it's basically a spinning rod version of a 9-foot extra stick. So there's really no reason, it's just an analog version of the casting rod in a spinning form. So it's designed to work the same stuff, just with a spinning rod. I don't really see a whole lot of use for that unless somebody is just totally used to, comfortable, acclimated to using a spinning rod. But the cool thing is, no, they don't really make lighter tackle musky spinning rods, but guess who does? You have to think, whenever you're wanting to pick something like this, you're fishing for a larger fish, but you're wanting to throw lighter presentations. You're wanting something that has enough power that it can actually get one of these fish in. You might not be able to horse it as much as normal, but it's actually designed to take that kind of duress. So where do you think you would look? There's some walleye rods, stuff like that, lighter presentations, but I mean, walleye rods, you're not dealing with fish normally over 10, 15 pounds. It's a big one. You're not dealing with really working baits very erratically or violently. Not that that's always the case, but you need something that's got a little bit of snap, a little bit of power to it. Where I always found myself searching for something to fit that bill was in the inshore world of fishing, which is where literally people are throwing lighter presentations than musky fishing. More like bass-sized things, anything from 1/4 ounce to 3/4 ounces, maybe an ounce. But they're fishing for fish that, quite frankly, could kick a muskie's ass. Redfish, snook, you know, well, let's just be frank, anything in saltwater as far as fighting power goes, usually would put a muskie to shame. That's really not what they're known for. Spectacular fights, challenge, yeah, but not really fighting power. So, whenever I look for a spinning rod that would actually do the job, I would look in the inshore world. And what's really cool is Fenwick actually makes an Elite Tech inshore series. And what's really neat about this is it's a spinning rod line. So it's designed for long casting, because these are people a lot of times they're fishing in the surf or they're fishing the flats. So they're having to make really, really long casts to cover terrain and stay out of sight, because, you know, when you're dealing with these fish that are stuck in the shallow water that's really clear, sometimes they're spooky. So guys have to make really accurate long casts. These rods are really, really good at that. They handle really well. They handle light baits really well. The way they load up, it has enough snap to it. You can actually work the baits. It's not too flimsy and wimpy, but it's got a good feel to it. You can finesse fish stuff. You can also snap things and work jerk baits pretty hard. That's what's really cool about this, is it's a really good rod that has the power to handle big fish, but it's got the subtlety to handle the presentation sometimes it takes to make them commit. Speaking of subtle presentations, I was talking about that, and you know, it's kind of a package deal. Like, you have to kind of match things up. So a lot of times when I'm looking at things that I need to use the spinning rod for muskie, I'm looking at things, smaller jerk baits, like little bass chatter baits, sometimes hair jigs, sometimes tubes, stuff like that. So you need to kind of compromise your tackle to that accordingly. So I like to use this stuff. This is a new kind of fire line that came out that is brand new, and it's kind of it's called like 8 fuse, and it is really, really durable. It casts really well, and it's nice that it comes in like it goes up to 40 pounds. I've used the 30 and the 20, and so far I like the 20 for this. The 20 is really abrasion resistant. That's kind of the best thing about this. I've actually run it through some heavy cover, and I found that, yeah, that's true. Like, a lot of braid will fray, a lot of braid doesn't take the most out of the elements, like trees can cut it, stuff like that. You bring it over a branch and it might slice it. This stuff is pretty tough. You can even tell when you try to cut it with a lighter, like it doesn't totally just singe off like normal. It doesn't just fizz. Like, there's some construct to this. But that's the cool thing about it, is it handles like a light line, but it's also pretty darn tough too. So when you're fishing these fish out of cover, pulling them out of weeds, you don't have to worry so much about that being an issue. Like it can handle it, not just the pull of the fish, but actually the things that might be pulling you in and out of. The other cool thing is, and it's kind of funny, is like Abu Garcia ironically makes a matching reel. Kind of cool, huh? Like I'm using this Abu Garcia Revo Inshore with this, and this is about the perfect balance of rod and reel for this kind of thing. You're looking at you don't want a huge spinning reel, but you don't want like a 100 series. You don't want something really small. Like you want something about like this, that's designed to take a decent capacity of line. You don't have to have it loaded up. You're not surf casting. You want to be able to put, you know, at least probably 100 yards of this 20, 30 pound stuff on it. And it does that and more. It handles really well, casts really well. And this is what's really cool too, is the cool thing about spinning rod is its biggest strength, and spinning line and spinning reels, is line pickup. And that's something you really have to consider when you're fishing these lighter things too, because you're doing a lot of snapping of the rod. You're fishing a lot of erratic jerk baits, which is where it comes in handy. Let's tell you what, the one we're talking about today, this is a brand new bait that came out, and I'm pretty notorious for getting excited about things before I actually throw them, but more often than not, I'm usually justified in being excited. I saw a picture of these things. This is called the Berkley Juke. This is a brand new crankbait that just came out, and what's really cool is Berkley has a really, really, really fantastic history of coming out with some really cool fishing baits in the last few years. They've got all these different kinds of bass crankbaits. The flicker shad is a great crankbait. It's known for walleye fishing, but I've caught some really nice musky on it. And it fishes really well in this lighter tackle stuff. But this thing, the Berkley Juke, this is the 4-inch size. It comes in a 5-inch and a 3-inch. The 5-inch you can actually work on heavier tackle, but works on this one too. This is the 4-inch. The best way I can describe this is it's a mix between an X-Wrap and a Super Shad Wrap, which is something that really hadn't been done before. It suspends. It actually tracks on a cast straight, so when you cast it, you can actually give it a decent little pace, and you can reel it back and just straight crank it like this. You put some speed on it, it actually has like a nice wander to it. It'll track straight, it doesn't blow out, but it'll still come back, and it has that just enough of a deviation where if a fish is following it, it's not a mechanical straight line, it's more of an organic evasion path. Here's the other cool thing. They suspend. You can twitch them. See how it jukes out like that? I assume that's how it got its name. It jukes out to the side, it darts. Very erratic. Probably the most erratic bait I've seen that has like a body style like that. It actually pushes a little bit of water. It's got more of like an actual thread fin profile, or like an alewife. It's got kind of that wide body design, flat side. Don't really know if that makes a big difference, but I do like the fact that it does push a little bit more water. It responds to like really subtle movements, responds to really snappy, fast action movements. But this kind of a setup for this kind of a thing, it's almost mandatory to have something like this to fish these things. Because there's a time and a place, especially in the springtime, especially at certain times of the winter, when this small stuff really will kick everything else's butt. And being the guy with the nice spinning rod, the balanced setup, with the right tackle, trust me, a lot of times you end up looking like a superstar when you're out there throwing this thing. So, on that note, I highly recommend you check out the Fenwick Inshore series. This is the Elite Tech, like I said. It's got titanium insert eyelets, which then again, it's just like the stainless steel. It doesn't fray your line like the ceramics. It's not going to snap it. That stuff ain't going nowhere. You're never going to chip those inserts, so you don't have to worry about that even with this lighter line. And it's a pretty good looking combo too. Like, hey, it matches. But I tell you what, that is something I think if I could really give my stamp of approval on a combo that suits everything for finesse musky fishing, I would say check out this Fenwick Elite Tech Inshore series. It wasn't made for musky, but it fits pretty darn well. This is Cory Allen with In the Spread. See you guys later.